It's a very important question. I have a chapter in the book called "Why is Eastern Europe Different?" So it's such an interesting subject, this, because I mean, obviously they didn't have, because most of them were under the Iron Curtain, behind the Iron Curtain, they didn't have the post-war Gastarbeiter era of migration, of course. They also, in my analysis of it, is that among other things, having come out of, I mean, everyone had a bad 20th century, but I think those countries had the worst. To fall under one totalitarianism and then fall under the other in quick succession. It seems to have suggested to them, I think quite rightly, that you've got to be very careful with your future, because it can all go in an instant. And you don't have any time off from history. And they certainly didn't. And so I think that the sort of almost frivolous, unthought through behaviour of a lot of Western Europe in recent years is just something they've seen it, they've watched it, and they don't want that path. They've just chosen another path. And at the very least, I think that it's their right to choose that path. And I think it should be their right to choose that path without being denigrated and lied about and defamed. And you know, I think there's an extraordinary thing that happens from Western Europe to Eastern Europe and Central Europe in particular at the moment, which is we've been treating them as if they're like young and they're not up to speed, and if they just grew up a bit, they'd be like us. And I think a totally legitimate question for these countries to ask is to turn around, look at this allegedly brilliant adult and say, I don't want to become you. You're not my role model. You know, you screwed it up. Why am I going to audition to be you? And even if it was the case, I think it's incumbent upon Western European countries to say what's so brilliant about what it is that we've been doing. Because I explain in the book, the historical chapters, I explain that all of this sort of happened through all sorts of things. But one of them was a lack of attention to the consequences of basic actions. You know, lack of attention to the basic truth that countries change if the peoples change. And yes, I think I know from travelling there a lot that they look at us with bemusement. But yes, it should be their right to say you're not what we want to be when we grow up, as it were, you know.